Well, unfortunately, the Chapecoense air disaster isn't the first one in footballing history. Other sporting clubs have been torn apart by similar tragedies throughout the years.
As the plane went down the runway, the engine had the similar effects to what had happened the first two attempts, and it went faster and faster, and I thought, well, we must be going to take off, but unfortunately we didn't, and from my point of view, I sat back. I don't know whether I had my head down or not, but luggage started to fall all around. And then, from my point of view, the plane appeared to stop. And the next second, the whole thing started to disintegrate and went dark, and I had the sensation of rolling round and round.
Well, staying with the Munich Air Disaster of 1958 that killed 8 Manchester United players, I'm joined now by Sam Peoples, who's written a number of blogs on what kind of effect the disaster had on Manchester. Sam, thank you for speaking to Beyond the Game. Now, as a football club, what kind of impact did this have on, on football, on matters on the pitch?
Well, Manchester United had to completely rebuild, and it was thanks to Jimmy Murphy, who was Man United's assistant manager at the time. He worked under Matt Busby. Obviously, Matt Busby had grave injuries in the disaster, but Jimmy Murphy took a team and basically used Man United's youth players and brought through relatively unknown players or completely unknown players and just did a makeshift team. And during the league that year, it was tough for Man United. We slipped to 9th, but we reached the FA Cup final.
Wow.
It was a miracle that we reached the final in that season, and we did lose the final, but it was the fact that this Man United team had survived. We won our first game back after the Munich Air Disaster 3-0, and it was at a time when everyone was in mourning. Manchester United managed to live on, and it's been embodied in the club ever since.
Oh, most definitely. Well, that's matters on the pitch, but what about off the field? I mean, how did it affect the community, the city of Manchester?
It was football at that time. It wasn't tribal. So in Manchester, there's two teams, Manchester United and Manchester City. Fans would regularly go to both games. It was a national mourning. It was a communal, almost a family loss. It was because back in those times, it was a case of the fans were a little bit closer to players. The players used to live in digs together. It wasn't a celebrity lifestyle. Fans could sometimes get the same buses that the players got. So when their heroes died, it felt like a family member had died. And you saw it in the funerals that were the 10 deep on the pavement. Duncan Edwards, who was the gentle giant, one of our potentially best ever players, cruelly taken down without fulfilling his potential, and there was 50,000 people at his funeral in Dudley, and it kind of sums up the sort of communal mourning that came after this.
Okay, well, you've written about how the Munich tragedy changed the perceptions of Germany and Germans in the press. Now, even though the recent tragedy isn't in a post-war scenario, should we be surprised in seeing South America unite in grief?
I don't think so. There's certain things that happen in life that transcend football and that transcend the event that they're involved with. And when it comes to human tragedy, it's nice to see, well, it's wonderful to see things like this where every single club in Brazil was united to support Chapecoense, and it's the same with every single club around the world. And it's just certain occasions like this that make you realise how important human life is, and it just makes you forget about the football, forget about any rivalry, and just think about the actual human loss that's happened. And that's what you're seeing with the outpouring of grief here.
Okay, Sam, thank you so much for coming on Beyond the Game. Right, we're going to take a break here on Beyond the Game. We have plenty more on the show, but first, a tribute to the eternal champions.
Hoje, acordamos com novo desafio, pois a vida nos deu uma missão diferente. Nossos guerreiros viraram heróis e eternizaram suas vidas em uma batalha que fez o mundo parar. A partida de hoje não tem um apito final. Juntos somos mais que 11. Ó glorioso verde que se expande entre os estados, tu és sempre um esplendor, nas alegrias e nas horas mais difíceis. Meu furacão, tu és sempre um vencedor.